Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who taught us this truth, who rule well, being a great example to the younger brothers. Shalom and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing this word of truth and sincerity across the four winds of the earth. It's your brother Karaitazar from GMS Gulf Coast, Mississippi, House of Judah. Coming back in this lesson, I want to touch on John 3:16. Just touching on the world that the Most High loves, which is not the whole entire world, but this lesson is going to be centered on the different worlds that are found in the scriptures. Because what happens with the English language not being a very rich language, some words lose their meaning. If you don't look them up in the Greek and in the Hebrew, right? And a lot of Christians like to go to John 3:16, to try to justify that everyone, all nations can be saved. But if you look into it a little deeper and you're taught, giving diligence, you'll see that that's not the case. So we're gonna get into the different worlds, and Lord willing, I pray that it be edifying. So here is John 3:16. It says, "For God, Yahweh, so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." Okay. Now that word "world" means, let's go into it. The definition. It says cosmos, and this is the Blue Letter app, the Blue Letter Bible app, BLB. You can download it if the spirit is on you to do so. This word is Strong's G2888, cosmos. All right. And when you read in the scriptures say in Proverbs 4:7, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting get understanding. So you go into these words to get understanding, which is principle. So we're gonna go down, and this is the main definition that this John 3:16 is talking about. It says, any aggregate or general collection of particulars of any sort. So the word is specific to a certain world in a sense. For example, you might have the cosmos of sports, which is like the sports world, or the cosmos of medicine, which is the medicine world, the medical world. But this world that is talking about in John 3:16 is the world of Israel, which are the 12 tribes of Israel, descending from the man called Jacob, whose name was later changed to Israel. And you can read about that in Genesis 32, chapter 22 through 32. Now, if we go to John 17, this was a prayer made by Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, for the elect of Israel, because there is a such thing as the elect of Israel, the ones that are going to be elected for salvation from the coming destruction, of key places on the planet via World War III, which will be a nuclear war, as it is mentioned in Isaiah 9, verse 5, when it says, this war shall be with burning and fuel of fire, But in John 17, starting at verse 14, reading to verse 17, I'm gonna just go ahead and read it real quick. It says, I have given them my word. I have given them thy word, and the world hath hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but that thou should keep them from the evil. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Okay, there for the word world again, let's go to it. Again, is cosmos. Now, let's see who the Lord is coming to save, because he just said that. Salakia, one sec. You know, um, let's go to Matthew chapter 1 and see who the Lord is coming to save. Verse 20, Matthew 1, verse 21. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, which is supposed to be Yahushua, because again, the Lord has a Hebrew name, which Hebrew is the Lashawan Kadash, which means holy tongue, holy language. But it says, he shall save his people, for he shall save his people from their sins. It says his people, and we know the Lord's family, his lineage, his bloodline, who the world calls Jesus, who is Yahushua. He sprang out of Judah, which is one of the sons of Jacob. One of the sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. So Yahushua comes from Israel. And to further prove that, let's get Luke 1 and verse 28. Salakia, Luke 1 and verse 68. It says, blessed be the Lord Yahweh of Israel, for he has visited and redeemed his people. Verse 69, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. And if you go to Matthew chapter 1, verse 1, it says, the book of the generation of Yahushua HaMashiach, the son of David, the son of Abraham. And you can find David here in this first chapter of Matthew in the genealogy of Yahushua. So the Lord came to save Israel, the house of his servant David, and that's what John 3:16 is talking about. All right, now there are different words used for world in the scriptures. It's not only cosmos, as it says in John 3:16, and that's where it can get confusing. So Lord willing, again, we're gonna get some understanding on this. Now, first remember, touching back on the elect of Israel, let's get Romans 11 and verse 7. It says, what then? What then? Israel hath not obtained which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. So the vast majority of Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are not going to get this, right? But it's only the elected few that are going to be saved, the ones that will see salvation, the elect. Now the Lord Yahushua did cover the sins of all Israel, and all of Israel will receive and be in the kingdom. Even the wicked children, the 2/3 of Israel that aren't bowing down to the Most High, but are being rebellious, they're going to come back through reincarnation through the loins of the elect in the kingdom of heaven as children through reincarnation, and they will be righteous, but that's a different topic. But the elect will be saved, all right, and beamed up into the Lord's chariots from the nuclear fire of World War III. And the elect's bodies will be changed in the twinkling of an eye and made incorruptible. So the Lord is really dealing with the elect right now, which consists of the governing body, those who will govern in the kingdom of heaven, the 144,000 of the 12 tribes of Israel, 12,000 from each tribe, along with the great multitude of men, women, and children, the believers, which you can read about in Revelation chapter 7. But going back to the different worlds in the scriptures, let's get Luke chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, "And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed." All right, now this is the second world that we're going to touch on. It's we're going to see that this world isn't the same as in John 3:16. It's not cosmos. But this word here in the Greek is Strong's G3625 Ukamina, which means the inhabited earth, which is more specifically, this being a Greek word, it says a portion of the earth inhabited by Greeks, in distinction from the lands of the barbarians, the Roman Empire, all the subjects of the empire. Now, if we look at this map, which I have queued up, this is pretty much showing the Roman Empire, So that's specifically what it's talking about here. But it generally means the inhabited earth, and back during that time when this was written, this was pretty much what was considered the inhabited earth in a sense, because they were mainly dealing with the Roman Empire at that time. So here in Luke 2, chapter 2, the word world again is ukamina. And that's the second world. Okay, now let's continue. Let's go to Matthew chapter 13 and go down to verse 40. It says, "As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in fire, so shall it be in the end of the world." Now that's going into the parable of the wheat and the tares. Okay, but this word world is, let's go into it. It's the Greek word Strong's G160, let's see, 164, aeon or ion. Now let's examine this word. It says forever and an unbroken age, perpetuity of time, eternity. What it's really referring to is an age. Now, you have a game, for example, called the Age of Empires, and you go through the different empires, and everyone has their own time to rule, you know. So this is referring to a period of time. And what that represents, for example, like right now, we're in the age of Esau, the ion of Esau, which is his kingdom and the age of his rulership, which was set up by the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. But that's gonna be changed, and that's what people are really unconsciously referring to when they say that we're in the time of the end of the world, because scriptures say that the earth will abide forever, and exist forever. So it's not talking about the earth, but it's talking about this word world, which is ion, age of time. But let's prove this. It's the time period of Esau. Let's grab 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 9. It says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Okay, so we know that he's coming to Esau is coming to the end of his rulership, and Jacob's gonna be set up for his time, which will be an everlasting time. Thus says the scriptures. You know. Now, let's grab Matthew chapter 6 and verse 13. It says, "And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen." Now, if you notice the word ever, so like, let's go into it. Not forever, but just ever, right here. It's again ion. So it's a measurement of time. So that's what that word world is. So you got the three different worlds. You got the measurement of time, the ion. You got the known inhabited world, O Kamina, specific to the Roman Empire if you want to get into the specifics. And then again, you got an assortment of particulars. The first one, cosmos, which is what is referring to in John 3 and 16. Talking about the nation of Israel specifically. Okay, because the Lord only loves Israel, as it says in Romans chapter 9 and verse 13. It says, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So, Lord willing, I pray that this lesson was edifying. Till the next time, I say shalom.